all beneficiaries of the occupation to do the bidding for the enemy. Every time when you're making strides, when you are succeeding, when you are winning, when you dominate and control the narratives, when the occupier has no other choice, they will resort to recruit more enablers, more traitors, more sellout. They will use money to corrupt, to bribe. They will use money as financial transactions for the vulnerable. This moment is no different. Over the last 7 years, as a generation, you have shown Cameroon who's in charge of the territory. You have fought extremely courageously and bravely. You have defeated Cameroon. You have won the war. You have dismantled the occupation governance system. Cameroon does not want to accept the defeat. They have resorted to recruiting enablers, traitors, sellouts, new middlemen, to recruit former Ambazonian activists to become their new spokesperson and their propagandist. They will provoke you. They will test you. They will poke you. They will even mock you. These are all signs of a desperate regime. In desperate times, taking desperate measures in order to hide its shame, in order to cover its crimes, in order to cover the genocide, in order to cover the destruction. Over the last few days, most of you watched a video or an interview from media prime time granted to Ambazonian notorious sellout, Ambazonian notorious traitor Ngong Emmanuel, aka Capo Daniel. What we are going to do today is to give a detailed response and expose the scamming of the Cameroon government by Capo Daniel, and expose what this scam it's all about. I have often said that if you really want to know the nature of a person, watch them, listen to them. They will give you more information and more details. You will hear the contradictions of Capo Daniel. You will hear the intentions of this scam. You hear the intentions of this propaganda. Capo Daniel will reveal Capo Daniel speaking on behalf of Paul Biya, speaking on behalf of the Bulu butchers. Capo Daniel will reveal Capo Daniel to Capo Daniel. Let me tell you 2 stories before we begin. An ordinary bird walking around the territory of peacocks. Peacock is a very beautiful bird with beautiful, beautiful feathers. So this bird had always envied the peacocks. How beautiful, glamorous, extraordinary, magnificent they are in terms of their looks. So, being someone that's envious, they wanted to be like a peacock. What did they do? They walk around and they found fallen feathers of peacock. They picked up those feathers and put them all over their body. This bird picked up the feathers of the fallen feathers of peacock and put these feathers all over its bodies. Started strutting, walking around, telling other friends, look at, I have transformed myself. I'm now a peacock. Look how beautiful I look. Look at me. I'm not like all of you anymore. This is who I am. I am this. I am that, strutting around, walking around. And other peacocks from a distance are looking at like, what's going on? Who's losing their mind? Has somebody become mad? And this coward of a bird started walking around, going towards the peacock. Oh, I'm now a peacock. Look at me. I'm now a peacock. A peacock. I'm also a peacock now. I have same feathers as all of you. All the peacocks came together and they started to pluck their feathers from this bird. When they finished, the birds, the friends of these birds, the family members of these birds, the community from which this bird came from, they were looking from afar in complete shame and dismay. When the peacocks finished plucking the feathers of this bird, this impostor, the bird was not a peacock and couldn't return to where it belonged. So, there are a lot of people that through the Amazonian liberation struggle, they are claiming to be what they are not. They are claiming to be what they've never been. They're suffering from the peacock syndrome because of social media. They want to be Christ, but they cannot carry the burden of Christ. They want to be Jesus, but they can't carry the burden of Jesus. It is not only a pitiful situation, but it's an advantage to the Amazonian people. It is important for all of you because over the years, and especially over the last 12 months, we've provided enough information, enough evidence to all of you. We've educated all of you of these patterns of sellouts. So it's important for all of you to see things come into broad daylight. It's important for all of you to see these things manifest themselves so that it's not me telling you. It's for you to see how deep Cameroon corruption, how deep Cameroon's bribery, how deep Cameroon and how far Cameroon will go to avoid resolving the problem. to rely on recruits, corrupted agents, paid agents, corrupted spokesperson, sponsored and bought out persons to do the speaking on behalf of Cameroon. Let me read you a story, a last story. The story is called The Fable of the Dancing Monkeys. A king had some monkeys that were trained to dance and to perform. The monkeys are naturally great at impersonating men's action. The monkeys showed themselves as great students. When dressed in their fine clothes and mask, they dance as well as anyone. The shows were often repeated with great applause until one occasion when a mischievous audience member decided to throw a handful of candies on the stage. At the sight of the candies, the monkeys forgot their training and stopped dancing. They then became as monkeys instead of actors, pulling off their mask and tearing off their clothes. They fought with anyone for their candies. The dancing show came to an end amidst the audience laughter and ridicule. Before I do any response to the traitor, the sellout Capo Daniel, let us remind Mr. Traitor, Mr. Sellout, Mr. Corrupted and compromised traitor Capo Daniel. Let us remind Capo Daniel and let us feed Capo Daniel and give Capo Daniel's medicine. The doctor must taste their own medicine. In 2019, Dr. Ebenezer Akwanga followed a call from Antonio Guterres when the United Nations wanted, conflicts to pause. And Dr. Ebenezer Akwanga accepted the bait from the Prime Minister's office and declared a unilateral ceasefire. Back then in 2019, Capo Daniel was an activist, an independent Ambazonian activist, speaking on his own platform, had no relationship with the Ambazonia Governing Council or the Ambazonia Defense Forces. He was a mere activist. Let us listen to what Capo Daniel said about Ebenezer Akwanga when Dr. Akwanga called for a unilateral ceasefire. Watch and listen.
My country people them. Now me, sense pass king, I don't come again. Yes, I be sense pass king. I want make una see how Dr. Ebenezer Akwanga he done sell out na a black leg now for this our revolution. Yes, Ebenezer Akwanga na black leg we done take money for La Republique du Cameroon for sell this Ambazonia struggle. Una listen for ye.
I was just reading a message that someone just sent to me here.
Una hear the thief man. First of all, you talk say you read message where someone done send for you. This man, now wicked man. Una hear.
Where my comrade brother Lucas Cho Ayaba is announcing the end of ghost towns. That no more ghost towns. This is it.
Una see thief man. First, he talk say na some person sending message. Then now he take this fake flyer we did for outside talk say a brother Ayabacho he done put out message say he want end ghost town. Then he take on the show and say that they prove this. We he know very well. Say anytime where Dr. Cho he want make message, he put them for a Facebook page or for the official channels them where they use them for the governing council for make publication. Now he use now fake flyer for put them for outside. The one label I'm saying Ayabacho and put them for outside. We know very well. Say no be Ayabacho he don't put them. As he said he don't talk from the beginning. Say now some person is saying for ye. This man a wicked man.
So they just sent it to me. I just read it now. No more ghost towns.
They who? They just send it to me. Now, no more ghost town. Ayabacho and they. What type of what nonsense are you talking about? And this wicked man. Now, so when we go chop money for La Republic, when they can't take and they pretend for here.
And he said something here which is actually true. That
Yeah, the corny way where you want to take and for preach the logic of the occupier. They preach the logic of Mr. Pobia, the wicked man in Yaoundé, for try to destroy the people's ghost town. When I hear ye.
we have noticed that for over 4 years of ghost towns, it has not produced the desired results. This is what I have said long time ago. Comrade Ayaba knows that.
This one na synectology 100%. A two-head snake where the camp can kill our people, preaching a wickedness coming from hell. We all know, say the ghost town na a civil disobedience, the only means left for our civilian for demonstrate for the international community, say them be willing and they want separation and outright independence for our territory. Now a very clean and clear message will be undeniable. With all the manipulation of the media, that is the only way we can make that demonstration and make that case. And the international community is getting it well. That is why only La Republique have tried so desperately to stop this ghost town, which is a cardinal pillar of our revolution. This man is a wicked black man, double-head snake, synectology. This man will not see him for year.
I have discussed this with him. He can testify from the very...
Yes, we can testify that you are a black-leg Ebenezer Kwanga. We have information, credible information, that you have received money to destroy this revolution. As we talk for now, Ebenezer Kwanga then promised the Swiss deal, the HD, say he go stop ghost town for Kumba and Boya. Now, why that he can make this misinformation, the pretending Ayabacho don't talk something based on a fake flyer, we know very well say Ayabacho never talk anything. Now, a way for if you can try to destroy the ghost town because he want to show the Swiss say the fisty produce results. This man a wicked man.
The moment they started this stuff,
This man na a sellout. Look at General Ngoy. We don't give it life for Soka Deaf. If you say the fight for independence, or man way the fight for independence, you know, no say that for a greedy, corrupt individual, way the fight na for your own belly, a Kwanga Ebenezer. Now man this way come for we, come meet up me for ye personally for China. It convince we, say me go support for buy AK-47, how it go take na just a few AK-47 for bid La Republique. He be the talk am then, he believe am, and it will be not true. Now say all liberation struggle, it don't succeed. Look at the youths, the way they don't put their life under their hand for if you go sell them for La Republique for take money, as will be here. So when they go for that Swiss deal, the first thing we open him up talk him. Now say me them promise he say they go take 30,000 way Mr. Pobia owe him for ye because of the case we win them. So they be catchy, they be sodomized for inside La Republique their prison. Now the only thing that way we go for them to go fight them. Shame on you, Dr. Ebenezer Kwanga. You have been rejected. The so-called ceasefire we don't sign our La Republique. We say it don't go end. What fruit have it given you? This wicked man. The good news now say for the Kumba and Boya, the people them they don't reject it. Make us give una images for the Mami Wata ghost town where it happened for Isa Kumba. After they hear say Ebenezer Kwanga, it don't take deal with La Republique. Say me they stop ghost town. When I watch the videos them, this man I sell out a black leg.
All right. That is the notorious traitor. That is the notorious sellout. That is the compromised, corrupted sellout Capo Daniel. If calling for a unilateral ceasefire, if Dr. Beneza Akwanga calling for a unilateral ceasefire, you call him a blackleg. You call him a sellout. You said he has collected money from Cameroon, and the statement was coming from Cameroon. That's what Capo Daniel said. That was 4 years ago. It is always good to keep archives. What does this remind you of Capo Daniel himself? Let's get to our official response to Capo Daniel. Can you play us clip number 1, please?
Peace we will have. That is my mission. We will have peace, and it's going to come, and Cameroon is going to be great again.
Capo Daniel, we are glad to have you once again on Prime for the second time.
Thank you, Mr. Leonard, for having me on this your platform. And it's a very big opportunity that you give all the people on both sides to have a chance to express themselves, so that the Cameroonians can have a direct access to hear exactly what we say and what is happening on the field back in the English-speaking regions that we want to call Ambazonia.
That you want to call Ambazonia, but I will start by asking you, there is a communique that was issued by the People's Rights.
Just pause there. This is very interesting, isn't it? Very interesting. The English-speaking region that we can call Ambazonia. And what was the response? What was the reaction? The interviewer turned and laughed. Why? Because they know it's a game. He was laughing because he knows it's a game. That you have switched suddenly, mysteriously, spontaneously. It's no longer Ambazonia. It's now the English-speaking regions that we can call Ambazonia. And they laughed at you because they know where it's coming from. The journalist understands the game, and that's why he's laughing, making a mockery, ridiculing the traitor on screen from the beginning. They know you are a sellout. They know you've collected money. And acting like the monkey on stage. That's why they are laughing at you. Play that clip again, just that part where they ridiculed the traitor.
Nyambu is with me in the studio. Good evening, Dr. Nick. We're glad to have you.
Oh, thank you very much, Leo, and good evening to Monsieur Capo Daniel. Good evening to our listeners around the world. The time has come for us to seek for peace in Cameroon, and peace we will have. That is my mission. We will have peace, and it's going to come, and Cameroon is going to be great again.
Capo Daniel, we are glad to have you once again on Prime for the second time.
Thank you, Mr. Leonard, for having me on this your platform. And it's a very big opportunity that you give all the people on both sides to have a chance to express themselves, so that the Cameroonians can have a direct access to hear exactly what we say and what is happening on the field back in the English-speaking regions that we want to call Ambazonia.
That you want to call Ambazonia, but I will start by asking you, there is a communique that was issued by the People's Rights Advocacy Platform, signed by Capo Daniel, who is the chairman of the PRAP platform, titled Cessation of Hostilities by the Ambazonia People's Rights Advocacy Platform. Why this communique at this moment?
Yeah, it is very important.
Can you
at
pause,
this
please?
Time.
Ambazonians, listen very carefully. Listen very carefully. Capo Daniel will reveal himself to all of you. Just listen. That's a simple question they have asked him. Why they communicate at this time? Listen very carefully. Let the demon reveal the devil to the demon.
After 8 years since this war have been going on, that we have a chance to reflect on a way to move forward. This is also a period where the Cameroon government is coming into their election calendar for presidential election, and the international community pays attention, in particularly in this country during this period of time. So,
this is the message, and this is the intention. The Cameroon state, it's about to organize election. Cameroon state is about to organize election. And the international community is paying attention to what's happening in Cameroon. That is why I am doing this. So, was anything mentioned about you, the Ambazonian people? Was anything mentioned about what you stand for? Was anything mentioned about what you're fighting for? Was anything mentioned about what you're demanding? Was anything mentioned about what you're dying for? And what you have sacrificed for? Was anything mentioned about your lives? Was anything mentioned about the more than 40,000 Ambazonians that have been killed? Was anything mentioned about the 1,200 villages that have been razed down? Was anything mentioned about the 750,000 Ambazonians that now lives in the forest as animals? Was anything mentioned about the 450,000 Ambazonians that are refugees? Was anything mentioned about the thousands of Ambazonians in Cameroon concentration camps? Welcome to the scam. That's how you know scammers. It has nothing to do with the fight. It has everything. It's been engineered to give a perception that promotes Cameroon's upcoming elections. This is the scam. Let's continue.
in view of my organization, the People's Right Advocative Platform, to push for a negotiated settlement, which we believe it is the right time to do so, we have decided unanimously on Saturday, the 4th of May, to adopt a resolution to end all hostility, cessation of hostility against the state of Cameroon, and adopt a peaceful means towards advocacy for the right of self-determination of our people as part of our push for a negotiated settlement with the Cameroon government in this conflict that is raging on for 8 years now and counting.
Why wait till now, Capo?
Okay. In view of this, to push for a negotiated settlement. Okay? That is all baloney in the first place. Ambazonians have taken diplomatic strides. We've made extraordinary steps. The name Ambazonia has been spoken to almost every major parliament or senate across the globe. From the Canadian House of Commons to the United States Senate to the House of Commons of the United Kingdom to the German Parliament to the French Parliament to the European Union Parliament to the Australian Parliament. Almost every single major state or nation on earth has tabled a resolution, a debate, has commented, has debated the Ambazonian conflict. It wasn't done because an impostor, a corrupted, bribed, compromised, a sellout traitor called for forces that he doesn't own, that he doesn't have, to lay down their arms. That is the peacock syndrome, where people try to be what they are not. Let's roll tape number 2.
That is raging on for 8 years now and counting.
Why wait till now, Capo Daniel?
As you know, the war have evolved. We started this war when the consortium, which was made up of all civil servants segment in our society in the English-speaking part of Cameroon, all the teachers' union, the drivers' union, the lawyers' union, they came together to collectively bargain on behalf of all Anglophones, all the people of West Cameroon, with the central government of Cameroon.
Stop right there. Just stop. Ambazonians, I want you to pay close attention to the change in language of the traitor. Okay. The traitor, based on the script given to him from the Prime Minister's office, controlled by my country people and through the DDR. There's a change in his language. That's why the journalist laughed at the beginning. He's moved from Ambazonia to Anglophones, to the English-speaking people, to West Cameroon, to Southern Cameroons. A change in language is always a change in intentions. Now he's speaking and using the terminologies of the occupier. Roll the tape. Let Capo Daniel reveal Capo Daniel to the Ambazonia people.
Cameroon. And surprise, surprise, all of them were being chased down. They were arrested. The consortium was banned. An organization that was engaged to represent our people collectively was banned. We saw that as an attack on our identity and our culture. And we, given the fact that we came into this union as a national, international entity, a state of the former British Southern Cameroon, we picked up arms, our youth picked up arms to fight and defend their identity, to fight and defend their rights of self-determination. But since then, in 2019, the Cameroon government have conceded to accept that, yes, indeed, our people are a people that have certain rights and have certain unique qualities that stems from our history of being part of the British Trust Territory. And indeed, they have granted us a special status as a result of that concession, which we think do not meet up with the aspiration of our people and do not adequately address the problem that it has identified. So that was a big change of the Cameroon government. Ever since Our movement refused to participate in that election. In hindsight, that was not a very wise decision, but they come up.
Let's stop. All right. They ask a very simple question. Why wait until now? You've all watched, you've all listened. What are the reasons Capo Daniel gave? Since 2019, the Cameroon government, Mr. Capo Daniel, Cameroon government has HAS, has, not have. The Cameroon government has come to recognize us as a people and granted us what? Special status. As a result of that, even though it does not meet up with the aspirations of our people, it did not address the problem. But that is a big change for the Cameroon government. Okay? What are his reasons for putting out that communique and calling for end of hostilities? What are the reasons he gave? It says because the Cameroon government has come to recognize us as a people and granted us special status. That's the reason he gave. So Capo Daniel said, that's a bold step the Cameroon government has taken. Then Capo Daniel contradicted Capo Daniel by saying, well, it does not meet the aspirations of the people and it did not address the problem. So, Mr. Capo Daniel, you said the reason you put out the communique was because you've reflected that the Cameroon government over the years has adopted a change in policy and attitude and has granted special status in 2019. Then you contradicted yourself and said the special status did not meet the aspirations of the people. The special status did not address the problem. If special status of 2019 did not meet the aspirations of the people and did not address the problem, why are you calling and asking for Ambazonian to embrace and accept what you have publicly stated did not meet the aspirations of the people, did not address or solve the problem? You said our movement did not participate in that election. Mr. Capo Daniel, the Grand National Monologue was not an election. It was a monologue, okay? The Cameroon government has kept open the committee of the Grand National Dialogue to follow up. Cameroon government has continuously, let's continue with that tape, please.
Cameroon government have consistently kept open the follow-up committee of the Grand National Dialogue to continue to engage with all the our movements and the various personalities within our struggle. They have engaged in the Swiss talks. They have also engaged in the Canadian talks that failed, in which I participated as one of the delegates. At one point, I was the leading delegate of a movement there. And at the collapse of that Canadian talks, this movement, the People's Right Advocacy Platform, emerged with the network that I have built on the ground. I have worked with
just listen very carefully. There's a lot here for all of you to glean from. There's a lot for all of you to glean from. They will reveal themselves. They will expose themselves. You don't have to go out there and shout. They are doing it by themselves. They will unmask themselves they will undress themselves in the public. All you have to do is listen to the embedded language. Very simple. If you can roll it back for about 5 seconds, that would be great if possible. And play the tape.
They have engaged in the Swiss talks. They have also engaged in the Canadian talks that failed, in which I participated as one of the delegates. At one point, I was the leading delegate of a movement there. And at the collapse of that Canadian talks, this movement, the People's Right Advocacy Platform, emerged with the network that I have built on the ground. I have worked with the ambassador of Seseko Ayoktabi. I was a founding member of the IG. In the initial stages of this struggle, we were involved in raising arms and supporting the boys that pick up arms in Manu under the Tigers of Ambazonia. Being the deputy defense chief, one of the most credible and currently the most influential Ambazonia personality. And this is our generation. This is our war. We decided that this struggle that started to represent our collective interests have been transformed into something else. The groups that emerges, the various organizations, were full of individuals who were also seeking opportunities for politics.
All right. This is the whole deal. This is what you need to know. The Ambazonia Governing Council sponsor Capo Daniel. Capo Daniel begged Dr. Cho, went on his knees and begged the leader to send him to Canada, because since he left Ground Zero and went to Hong Kong, has never seen or traveled to any other part of the world except through the Ambazonia Governing Council. In 2019, the AGOVC sent Capo Daniel to the Basque region, and then in 2022, they sent him to Canada. Those are the 2 trips sponsored, paid for, organized by the Ambazonia Governing Council that have helped Capo Daniel to leave Hong Kong. So, 2 things he said at the end of the Canada talks. That's when his organization, the PRAP, emerged. From what? The network he has built on the ground. It emerged from the network he has built on the ground. It emerged because he was an ambassador of Ayoktabe Julius. It emerged because he was the deputy defense chief of the most influential movement. I informed all of you after his exit as to the reason why Cameroon bought him out. Why do you think immediately after the Canada talks, Cameroon removed him from Hong Kong and brought him to Canada? The contact, the corruption, the compromised, the payments were done during Canada talks. He told all of you. That's how the game works. It has nothing to do with you Ambazonians. He went there to build a network and a direct engagement with the Cameroon government. These things were set up in advance from the Prime Minister's office with the specific individuals that came there, including the lady he slept with. more traitors will come. More traitors, more opportunists will take advantage of your sacrifices, of your plight, of your pain, of your suffering. They will cash out and they will betray you. Ambazonians have a track record and known for being sellout and traitors. That has been your story since 1961. A story of consistent betrayal. They will claim that they speak for you. They will live in the middle of the ocean. That has been your existence. That has been your story. But you're a different generation. You're a different breed. You have the final say. The good news is they're exposing themselves now. It's better you know now than regret later. That you should take pride in. We discovered these things early and we took steps to address them. The propaganda will not last. So too will they. If you want to be Jesus, you must be ready to carry the cross of Jesus. Let's roll the next one.
That is why our struggle have been so divided. And the Cameroon government have taken maximum advantage of that. 8 years counting, we see that it is time for us, in view of the Cameroon concession, to seek for a new social contract and to end this war and end the suffering of our people on both sides.
Let's stop. In view of this, in view of the concessions Cameroon has made, Capo Daniel, you said Cameroon has made concessions. What are the concessions? Cameroon has made concessions. What are the concessions? You say Cameroon participated in the Swiss talks. The Cameroon government was never involved in the Swiss process. It was Sako and a group of others talking to themselves in Switzerland. Decentralization was a policy adopted in 1996. It wasn't adopted because of the conflict. It wasn't designed to address the conflict. The conflict did not start in 1996. So how do you take a policy that was a law that was enacted in 1996 and you brought it to 2019 as a solution to a conflict by introducing the same system with a change of name? You call it decentralization. How is that a concession to the Ambazonian people? How is that a concession? Were you consulted in the drafting of the decentralization policy? Was any Ambazonia involved in 1996 in anticipation of the conflict in 2016 and 2017 to draft the decentralization policy? How is that a concession? How is taking an old law that is inapplicable to the situation a concession? If it was so useful and so relevant, and it can bring the needed and required change, why did they not implement it from 1996 when it was adopted into law? Morons. The Grand National Dialogue. It was a Grand National monologue. Who was present? Who was present? They all confessed, including those that participated, including the cardinal. It failed. What came out of it? Pronouncement of another scam called special status. Who has to give who special status? It's like taking the 1996 policy of decentralization, bringing it to 2021 or 2019, and then you come up with a sham and a scam and a fraud called special status. All international experts, including the International Crisis Group, they said it's a non-event. If Cameroon had made concessions, why are they still fighting? If the so-called the policy of decentralization is a solution to the conflict, why are they still deploying more and more military men and women and buy more tanks? If the policy is so effective, why will Cameroon come and recruit you? I'm curious, right? They have made concessions. The decentralization policy is the best thing Cameroon, Mr. Biya, has offered the Amazonian people, or the so-called your English-speaking people. If that policy is so very appetizing or very, what will I say? It meets the aspirations and the needs of the people. 3 years or 4 years later, why will Cameroon come and recruit you to declare cessation of hostilities? If special status has solved the problem, which you have said it did not meet the aspirations of the people and it did not solve the problem, so why are you promoting it? Why are you talking about it? Who are you trying to deceive?
That is why my organization have made this declaration to secede from hostility against the state of Cameroon and pursue through peaceful means a negotiated settlement to resolve this matter. And we count on all goodwill Cameroonians, both Francophones and Anglophones, to rally together behind this initiative to support for a negotiated settlement. The idea that some people within the regime, led by Paul Biya, because he's the president of that country, that somehow they can bring a solution that exclude the people who have fought for the problem which they have agreed, that is somehow possible. That is not true. Since the special status was granted in 2019, over 600 Cameroon military personnel have been killed. Of course, we have had significant losses. The battle takes place in our territory, in the English-speaking part, and it pains us the most, but there is death on both sides. And we hope that Paul Biya will be able to keep aside his own ego and engage in a negotiated settlement And as elections are coming in Cameroon, that in the ballot of this election, the option of the resolution of this crisis should be in the ballot box if elections are to take place in Cameroon. We want all Cameroonians to rally and say that autonomy for the English-speaking regions should be on the ballot box. Our people should be given a way to come out of this crisis with their dignity and their honor. And that is what we are pushing for in this our campaign. This
Here we go again with the elections. Here we go again with the elections. The theme: participate in the elections. Why? Because in the ballot box,
This ceasefire, this cessation of hostility, which we have announced, is for our dark forces which are on the ground. We have asked them to preserve their weapons for their personal self-defense only, and do not engage any longer in any.
Hold on. You guys are too fast. The TV studios, our TV engineers. The theme of the elections, the conflict will be on the ballot box. So now the conflict is a candidate. The conflict will be on the ballot box. The conflict will be on the ballot box. Autonomy for the English-speaking region will be on the ballot box. Autonomy will be on the ballot box. The conflict will be on the ballot box. So, what you need to know is, all he's trying to tell all of you is that by accepting participation in Cameroon elections, after the elections, the Cameroon government will engage in a negotiated settlement. For you to get there, you must participate in the elections. That's what Diongute is telling you. That's what he's here to sell to you. He's selling you the reoccupation of your conscience. If things are so good, the conflict has come to an end. Refugees are tired. It is now safe to go back home. Why did you move from Hong Kong to Canada? Why did you not move from Hong Kong to Ground Zero? Why did the Cameroon government facilitate and paid for your movement? Because you had no means. I know you very well. Broke. You always call and ask me for money. If the conflict has come to an end and it's safe for our people to return and participate in your scam elections, why did they move you from Hong Kong? Instead of Ground Zero, they send you to Canada. And until you answer that question, if the ground is so safe, why did Cameroon government not move you from Hong Kong to Ground Zero? I'm Lucas Asso. Let's move on.
This ceasefire, this cessation of hostility, which we have announced, is for our dark forces which are on the ground. We have asked them to preserve their weapons for their personal self-defense only, and do not engage any longer.
Just stop. Fellow Ambazonians, what you need to know is this. Capo Daniel I and Capo Daniel emerged as Ambazonian activists in 2016 when this conflict started. He had the No Connie Talk program. I had the Southern Cameroon's leadership strategy platform. Capo Daniel was not involved in the creation of defense groups on the ground. Neither was I. You know it, I know it. So let's stop the nonsense. 2016, 2017, it was the call of the consortium, a social call for a return of the Anglo-Saxon education and the common law system. The conflict changed in 2017 when Dr. Cho Lucas Ayaba launched self-defense and invoked the right of self-defense of the Ambazonian people, followed by Ebenezer Akwanga, Dr. Ebenezer Akwanga. Nchia Martin helped in setting up the Tigers. In 2017, there were three main forces on the ground: Ambazonia Defense Forces of Dr. Cho Lucas Ayaba, the SOCADEF of Dr. Ebenezer Akwanga, and the Tigers of Nchia Martin. Where does Capo Daniel fall in all of this in 2017? Nowhere. 2018, he joined the IG. He participated in the formation in all the conclaves that led to the creation of the IG. He became a country head, which is a structure setup of Ayoktabe's IG, and became an ambassador of Ayoktabe. Question: was Ayoktabe's IG involved in self-defense? No. So where did Capo Daniel fit in the creation and in the launching of self-defense on the ground? Nowhere. Right up until this moment, the Ayoktabe's IG is not involved in self-defense. We all were Ambazonian activists promoting the social cause of our people and advocating for the right of our people and supporting the armed resistance as Ambazonians. When he was appointed the Deputy Defense Chief of the Ambazonian Defense Forces, the Ambazonia Governing Council has created the most formidable force on the ground. This is something that you know, I know, Cameroon government knows, the international community knows. It's undisputable. Capo Daniel has never featured as someone who has created forces on the ground. It was only in 2023 when he left the Ambazonia Governing Council, immediately after the Canada pre-talks, when he was compromised, when we have real intelligence of his underground dealings with Cameroon and what transpired and the transaction that took place during the Canada pre-talks, when he had engagement, a direct private meetings with officials from the Cameroon government during the negotiations. And he was dismissed from the Ambazonia Governing Council. The leader accepted the resignation letter. That was when Capo Daniel came out with a scam that he has forces called Ambazonia Dark Forces, which is an acronym of ADF. What did Capo Daniel say? That when he came out of Canada talks, it was the network that he has built on the ground, because as the Deputy Defense Chief of Ambazonia Defense Forces, he had access and contacts of commanders on the ground. Does having access and contacts of commanders on the ground make you someone who has recruited forces, trained forces, and have forces of your own? From 2023 to May 2024, no Ambazonian had seen a soldier declaring himself a fight for the dark forces under Capo Daniel. No action has taken place on the ground. All of us, including you and I, we know all the forces on the ground in all the 13 states. There is no force in the Ambazonia territory called dark forces. These are the scamming techniques they use to use that contact, those access, as transactions to the Cameroon government. I have access to these commanders. I have access to these generals. I have access to these forces. I know who is who. That access is what he's using to scam, deceive, manipulate the Cameroon government. That access is what he's calling dark forces. For purposes for financial transactions, so that I can give you locations, I can talk to them, we can lure them, and you can kill them. That is what he called dark forces. You give me money, and I provide you with intel. I provide you with information. That is what is called dark forces. He knows it. You should only make this statement if I'm dead. As long as I'm alive, we have walked the same path since 2016. I know you more than anyone else. Inside out. Don't do these things when I'm around. You know who you are. Cameroon has rescued you. They offered me the first 50 million in 2020. I refused. They offered me 100 million in 2021. I refused. Before the Canada talks, they offered me 250 million. I refused. You collected yours. That's what is making you to act the way you are acting. Talking the way you are talking. That's what has gotten into your head. Just like every other traitor. That's what you think you're so bold. Because now you have to render the services for which Cameroon transferred you and rescued you from Hong Kong to put you in Canada, because the name Canada by itself gives you a certain level of respect. I came here on my own. Ask anyone. The government of Canada knows it. That's why we live with pride and with dignity. People without character, without conscience, You said you were speaking for Ambazonians, deceived them, manipulated them, and now you are milking their sacrifices. And selling them back to the occupier. And you have the guts to go on TV and spew garbage. You have no forces on the ground. Nothing. Zero. Make that noise when I'm dead. Roll the tape.
In any hostility in Cameroon or in the English-speaking part of Cameroon. And these have set the stage, and other forces in our territory are also flexible to even engage in ceasefire depending on how the Cameroon government reciprocate. We hope that they will do so, but there is lack of hope because the way
here is what all of you need to know. Other forces are flexible if the Cameroon government reciprocate. Here is what I want to warn all Ambazonians. The word flexibility means if other forces are open to the same corruption as Capo Daniel, if other forces also accept to be corrupted and to be bribed, that's what he's telling you. He's now the king. He's now the primary person. As he said, the network he has built, that network is to use access to that network for purposes of bribery and corruption of forces on the ground in order to achieve the aim to guarantee successful participation of Ambazonia in Cameroon upcoming presidential elections. That's what he's telling you. Roll the tape.
Acted with the Canadian talks coming out to say that nothing happened when the Canadians are saying that we were there, we had signatures on the ground. So, but we are hopeful that if the Cameroonians, they come together and support this initiative, this is the first time a separatist movement have put on the table a solution that do not involve the splitting of the country, but involve a one country, two people, where we can all agree and coexist in this beautiful place that we have once called Cameroon, the miniature of Africa. And let us put beside the shame that this war have brought on both sides.
Okay. All right. He told you what is his aim? To maintain the oneness of Cameroon, but accept that there are two identities. He told you, right? Is there anything to hide? Is there any more discussion? Who speaks like that? Who wants independence? Who wants freedom and speaks like that? Who is speaking for one Cameroon? Mr. Bia. Who is speaking for Cameroon is one and indivisible? Atanganji Paul, Diongute, Paul Bia, Ngole, Capo Daniel. Success in Congo, Nambere. It's only the sellouts. It's only the traitors that adopts the occupier's language. So he's basing his proclamation on hope. Then he said, but there is lack of hope because of the way Mr. Bia has acted. Let's move to the next one, please.
Side.
Okay, Capo, we'll be coming back to you. Dr. Nick Ngwanyam, you have gone through this communique that was issued by the People's Rights Advocacy Platform led by Capo Daniel. Your first reaction when you saw the communique?
First, I want to thank you, Capo Daniel, for taking this bold step to do what is right, what is just, and what is good. Now you are doing exactly what His Eminence Christian Cardinal
Let us stop here for a second. Let us stop here. Remember who the regime has sent to come and welcome Capo Daniel into the assembly of traitors? Mr. Ngwanya. That's the person CPDM and the colonial elites, the murderers of our people, the beneficiaries of the occupation, have sent to come and welcome their new member into the court of assembly of traitors. And is saying Capo Daniel is doing the right thing. Capo Daniel is taking the right course. It's a just thing to do. To be a traitor is a just thing to do. Only in Cameroon, where you become a traitor, and it's like you're given a new badge of honor. You've been elevated and given, and even elevated to the heights of a saint. Only in Cameroon, where they will send someone like, they will send one traitor to welcome another traitor. They will send a member of the genocidal CPDM fascist party to come and welcome their new initiate. And he's telling him he has done the right thing. You've done the right thing to become a traitor. Of course, it's the right thing to do. If you want to be a member, if you want to be a beneficiary of the occupation. Of course, it's the right thing to do. That's what traitors do. He said it's the right thing to do. The right thing to do? To be a sellout? To be a traitor? To join the CPDM? To continue the perpetuation of falsehood? Is the right thing to do? Definition of the right thing to do. Let's define that. Roll the tape.
Montgomery wanted for the people, but we all rejected him on both sides. The fighting Anglophones, they rejected him. The government also rejected him, and he went away with his pain. But I'm here to continue in the light of what he wanted for Cameroon. I will continue to speak his mind. I will continue to speak his wishes. And what I can tell all Cameroonians is that whatever Cardinal Tumi wanted for this nation is what will happen, and we'll all have it. It will be one nation with two peoples. There will be West Cameroon, there will be East Cameroon, there will be a president, a vice president. The capital of West Cameroon shall be in Numba. The capital of East Cameroon shall be at Ebebda. The capital of the center region shall be in Balmayo. The capital of the southwest region shall be in a place called Alu, not very far from Manyemen, on the way to Kumba. So these are the things that are going to happen. And among some of the other things that are going to happen, we will have to take out all the graduates from ENAM that are ruling in the nation and give back power to the people, because most of the problems that are created in this country come from ENAM, which is a tool of the French to divide the people.
How do you achieve what you just talking about? Because there must be political machination or machinery that should bring what you're saying to light. You are a militant of the CPDM party. How do you achieve what you're saying?
That's fine.
Does it fall in line with what your party advocates for?
I want the Ambazonian people and everyone watching to listen now very carefully. He's a member of the CPDM party. He's articulated things that are far from reality. The proclamation Capo Daniel has made, the traitor Capo Daniel has made, the decentralization policy they are pushing, the special status policy they are pushing, have none of these things they are talking about. All right? That's the first thing you need to know. Then they've asked him, how are you going to do this? How are you going to achieve these things you have said? You are a member of the ruling CPDM party. Is this in line with your party policy? Listen for the answers.
So now let's go back a little bit. In 2017, when the war was picking steam in 2017, that was around February, Prime Minister Philemon Yang came to Bamenda and had a meeting at the Congress Hall. I was at that meeting, and I think I was wearing this very jacket that on that day. And in the course of the discussions, I stood up and I said one thing, and I continue to say it. I said, Mr. Prime Minister, the government of Cameroon has sinned against the people. The government of Cameroon has done a couple of wrong things. And I also said, those that have picked up guns and are fighting have also done something wrong. That means both sides have failed the people. They have done wrong things. And what we ought to have done at that material moment, I mean, Prime Minister Philomene is down, Young is leaving, the governor of the Northwest, they are all leaving, and there were many other people there. That's what I said. And I went on to say this: let us all forgive each other. The government should forgive the Anglophones, and the Anglophones should forgive the government. Let us talk over these things genuinely and solve the problem. And if we had done that, all this killing and destruction, waste of money will not have been there. But we choose not to do so. In any case, His Excellency Philemon Yang was trying his best, actually, to see how he could move the agenda to satisfy everybody. And I remember he was still negotiating with the teachers and so on, and the other people at Ayaba, when one of our ministers, another Anglophone, was talking of some rubbish on a foreign TV station, which irritated everybody and caused a lot of trauma and damage. The same thing too happened when this current prime minister, when he was also trying to negotiate and see how he could talk softly to both sides and solve the problem. One other minister, again, I don't know if the same minister or another one, still went on, was it RFE or whatever, and still talked that rubbish. And it is this acidic language that has pushed us to where we are. People will talk rubbish and now create a very dangerous situation in the nation. They are not fighting. Their children are not fighting. They go and recruit the children of others to carry the guns and fight, be they soldiers on both sides or whatever. So we create a problem where children of other people are dying and we are talking nonsense. That has been the problem. And unfortunately, along the line, the cardinal wanted to see how Anglophones could come together, so we talk over this thing, then go to this so-called national dialogue and speak with one voice.
Okay. They ask, this is a man who calls himself a doctor. They ask him a simple question. Is what you are saying in line with your party policy? You're a member of the CPDM ruling party. Is what you are saying in line with the party? How do you intend to achieve these things? He rambled for 5 minutes. Cannot answer the question. He rambled for 5 minutes because they have no answer. What is he doing on the interview? Why is he there? To spew gibberish. He's a doctor. The purpose of education is to refine the human personality, is to build character, is to build uprightness. for them, education for them, has instead, they went to school, but education did not enter them. No upright human being, seeing what the CPDM policies are, witnessing their genocide, will continue to be a member of that party. He calls himself an Anglophone. They've killed 40,000 of your brothers and your own sisters. But because you signed a pact into the court, and CPDM becomes a means of financial, political survival, you will die with it. You give up your character, your dignity, you give up yourself for this on media. How do you go back to your wife and children? How would you sleep on the same bed with that woman? No wonder the society is like that. No wonder your kids are like that. A nation of imbeciles. No wonder Bia can go on with the war. No wonder Bia can do what he's doing to the Amazonian people. Cowards. Next one, please.
Daniel, I'll read from your communique. It says, its members have unanimously adopted a resolution to end all hostilities against the Cameroon state in regards to the resolutions to end all hostilities against the Cameroon state to the Amazonia conflict. We have resolved to choose the non-violent approach to our fight for the right of self-determination of the English-speaking people of Cameroon. Now, when you say you have chosen the non-violent approach, how do you intend to go about it?
Let's talk.
We have a very robust team that have been engaging for the past.
There is a breaking news coming from the territory. The leader has put up a message on his Facebook page and Twitter page. There's also this news is also circulating on major news outlets. Excellent news coming from the state of Manu. The Bulu barbarians have met their match today. Amazonia is unconquerable. 6 Cameroon Bulu barbarians have been killed in the state of Manu. It's a difference between fantasy and reality. Well, we are here to talk about the scam of cessation of the call for cessation of hostilities by the paid agent Capo Daniel, promoting a return to normalcy. Amazonian forces in the state of Manu have killed 6 Cameroon occupation Bulu terrorists. Roll the tape.
I think 11 months to campaign for direct negotiation and to seek for this new social contract. And I'm very glad my friend Dr. Nick Ngwanyam, who is a member of CPDM, have also shown sympathy and shown some compassion, which we expect from all Cameroonians. This program that we have issued, a peace plan paper that called for autonomy from the Constitution of Cameroon that divulged power to the English-speaking region, is a reasonable middle ground that we believe should resolve this war. Enough of the killing. We have successfully have some international partners that are willing to help us as we move along this journey to campaign and to meet other international partners, because the way the regime in Yaoundé operates is nobody cannot understand how they are so out of touch. One part of the party or one part of the country is negotiating, the other one will come and sabotage, as Dr. Nick have said, and they are all over the place. But there is one thing that I think is obvious to everybody, and this should be an eye-opener to the people in Cameroon. There is the case in Cambe, where the Cameroon military leaked their investigation into the bomb that was planted during the 11th February that killed.
All right. All what he's trying to tell all of you is that his cessation of hostilities against the Cameroon state, the call for cessation of hostility against the Cameroon state, is a new social contract he's working on with the Cameroon government for autonomy for the English-speaking regions of Cameroon. Mr. Capo Daniel, the 1996 Constitution, which was readopted in 2019 during the Grand National Dialogue, calls for decentralization, which you call autonomy. They've granted special status. So what new social contract are you talking about? What new autonomy are you talking about? What is your definition of a middle ground? Middle ground with who and on what? You talked about international partners, Ambazonians. You've listened to the story I told you about the peacock syndrome. There is no sensible organization. There is no credible international actor or entity that will engage with someone who is the most inconsistent, who's untrustworthy, who lacks basic character and credibility, and whom we cannot rely on. The international community does not work that way. It works on credibility. Once you have moved from talking about Ambazonian, and then you collect money, and you start with some other gibberish, you start to speak like those Pharisees speaking in tongues. You move from left to right, from north to south, from east to west. You have no center of gravity. No one can take you serious. No one can rely on you. If you can betray those that pick up arms, if you can betray refugees, if you can betray more than 40,000 people that have been killed, you can betray people you call forces you have led, why should they trust you? If you can betray people you've worked with for years, people that have elevated you from someone who didn't even know how to dress, who didn't even know how to put on a tie, how to put on a jacket, how to speak, groom you, grow you. If you can betray them, they gave you a voice, they gave you a platform. If you can betray those that you've ate on the same plate, why should someone else trust you? Tonight, because you're in Canada, because Cameroon has saved you from Hong Kong to Canada. Mystically, you have international partners. Mark Barretta is your international partner, or because you talk with the DDRO people. Who can take you serious? Cowards. Roll the next one, please.
There are people who benefit to see the war go on both sides. But it is time for us now, of all Cameroonians of good faith, why the poor Biya, who is very old, still is in power, to resolve this problem and not to pass it to the next generation or to the next regime that may emerge. It is the right time to do the right thing. We are calling on all Cameroonians of good faith to look ourselves in the eye and say, is this problem too difficult for us to handle? The people of the Southern Cameroon, I don't think there is any Francophone who is so interested in controlling how we govern our affairs there in Boya and in Kumba and in Bamenda. Our people deserve that preservation, even of the bilingual nature of the country. We cannot agree on a form of bilingualism and say English and French are equal when we know that we are the minority. In a place like Canada, the French part of Canada is protected by autonomy. They govern themselves. The French language is dominant in Quebec. We want similar situation in Cameroon, where the English-speaking part have their own administration. The English language is the dominant language and the medium of study in schools, while we can learn French as a language and become bilingual out of choice. So this is the right thing to do. We are hoping that the international community will support this proposition that we have put forth. We are also hoping that Paul Biya, at his old age, should think about his legacy. The idea that they want to bring a solution that has nothing or no input for those who were fighting for the same problem. They themselves have now accepted that indeed this problem have a root cause from our origin as being people from the British Southern Cameroon. That is really not attainable for them. They can never have a complete military victory. Yes, on our side, we have failed. We have seen our own shortcoming. We started this war as a result of self-defense. The movements have been hijacked by an ideology that in itself is self-defeating. And our people, the youth, our people on the ground, you saw for the first time, you saw even Ambazonian fighters in Bui protesting on the street against extreme groups within our struggle. The Cameroon military is not to say that they are free. We have seen they were burning houses, but we have seen some changes, a little bit changes in their behavior. Nevertheless, we are saying it is time for reconciliation. It is time for us to seek for a new social contract, to seek for an inclusive solution where the English-speaking people will feel that we have a just solution that protects our own specificity. The Cameroon government have already agreed that we have a root cause problem. Now, how do you solve it? Do you come and you are giving us a conciliator, a public conciliator, over power over the mayors and the people that were elected? We never had a problem with the mayors in the first place. We had a problem with the governors and the SDO. We want a devolution of power where the functions of the governor is specified by the constitution. You are governing over what? What is your jurisdiction? What are your duties? Where is the civil service that supports that duty? We want our own budget. What do you manage? We don't want puppet governors and puppet SDOs and DO. We want the people to be given the power to elect them and rule themselves under this.
All right. They ask him a very simple question. How do you intend to go about the implementation of your end of hostilities where there are so many armed groups on the ground that have forces? How do you intend to implement it with a government that is not interested? For how many minutes did he ramble? But in his rambling, he revealed to you something. Let us reconcile before the elections. Let us reconcile. Okay? Let us reconcile. And he's hoping that Mr. Biya in his old age will want to think about his legacy. Hope is not a strategy. what they are pushing for you, accept this nonsense, accept this scam, so that you go vote. And your vote will be seen as an act of reconciliation. By accepting to vote, it means you've reconciled and accepted the so-called special status that has given you something. There's nothing here for you. They've pushed this policy since 2019. If they have been so effective, if they are policies that could address the root causes of the conflict, they will not need Capo Daniel. They don't have to corrupt, bribe, pay Capo Daniel to be doing this nonsense. You cannot do the same thing over and over and over and over and over and expect a different outcome. We've seen this replica in success in Congo, in Nambere, in all the other traitors, in Nick Santos, in Sofoncha. So this is not the first time we've seen this movie. Because the heat is on Cameroon. The heat is on Cameroon. They need someone to reduce the intensity of the heat on them. They need someone to help them to reduce the intensity of the pressure. That is what this is all about. Can we move to the next one, please? Next. Next one, please.
Under this condition.
Capo Daniel, when you say you've noticed that, okay, the victory is not possible, there are many persons who would say you are speaking for yourself and that the fighting must go on till the last man standing. How do you consider or conclude that the war is not winnable? What makes you to take that posture?
First of all, we were fighting this struggle from the beginning as a result of self-defense. Our villages were being burned. Some SDO were calling on our people to leave their villages and go to Nigeria. And the Cameroon military was very excessive. This is something that many independent human rights organizations have well documented. In that, our action in self-defense, we also exert our own identity by saying we want independence. Siseko declared our independence as a result of the inaction or rejection of negotiation by the Cameroon government. So we have evolved as well. We must look at the reality and say that, militarily speaking, we cannot defeat Cameroon. Internationally, we have not been able for 8 years to have recognition of our independent state. The prospect to have that is very slim, or doesn't exist at all. So it is rational. It's for our people's sake. This is not politics. I'm not a politician. We are there to fight for the life and identity of the Anglophones. Since the Cameroon government have suggested this is their problem, the fighting have not stopped. It is not because somebody is remote controlling the voice. It's because on the ground, the people know that this solution does not reflect their aspiration and it does not resolve the problem that they were fighting.
Cut it. He just said it. You keep contradicting yourself. The solutions Mr. Biya has imposed, because they were not negotiated solutions, are not sufficient. Decentralization is not sufficient. Special status failed. That's why the fighting is still going on. The notion that we cannot defeat Cameroon militarily is false. It's false. They don't have the capacity. They don't have the means to protect the occupation system. Ambazonian fighters have defeated Cameroon. All indicators points to this. Why are they only in armor cars? Why do they only exist in bunkers? We can chase these barbarians out of our territory. There will be no middle ground. There was no middle ground in 1961. There was no middle ground in 1966. There was no middle ground in 1972. There was no middle ground in 1984. There was no middle ground in 1996. There's never been a middle ground. After 60 years of butchery, of endless massacres, 63 years of butchery and endless massacres, this generation will write the last chapter of Cameroon presence in Amazonia. Cameroon can recruit as many traitors and sell out as possible. The nationalist spirit of our people, the determination, the defiance, the commitment of the Amazonian people. We know what our people want. They know what they want. They know what's good for them. They know what's right for them. He said for 8 years, we never achieved recognition. What was Canada pre-talks about? It was the recognition of the identity of the Amazonian people. You were there. That was achieved. The occupier signed in the Toronto Declaration, recognizing the identity of the Amazonian people as a separate people from Cameroon. As a separate people from Cameroon. That identity has been recognized. We have been recognized. You can't change the narrative. It's now historical. It set the precedence of any future talks. That's the basis of any negotiation. We are Ambazonians. Cameroon is Cameroon. The Canada talks was to define the parties to the conflict. And the parties to the conflict was clearly established. The state of Cameroon and the people of Ambazonia, known as people from former British territory of Southern Cameroons. They didn't say we are people of the Northwest and Southwest. Northwest and Southwest, it's in Cameroon context. Ambazonians, people from the territory of former British Southern Camerons. They didn't say part of Cameroon. We've been recognized. The Toronto Declaration, which was the conclusion of the Canada pre-talks, Ambazonian gained its recognition in the presence of the United Nations, in the presence of US observers, Norwegian observers, Swiss observers, Irish observers. Cameroon signed, recognizing our identity, and Canada is a party to it. We are aware. Please roll the tape. Let's finish this. Roll the tape. We have a few more minutes to go.
For in the first place. Of course, there will be Ambazonian groups that are extreme that will say that let us fight for independence, whether we can have it or not, or let's fight a suicide mission where we say to the last man standing. Most of those people, over the time, you see that are people who are not really in touch with what is happening on the ground. As we have seen in the refugee camps in Nigeria, where I've forwarded you some of the videos, you have seen members of my organization on the ground talking to refugees. Refugees are voicing their opinion, saying that they are tired of the war. They want to go back home. Our diaspora population, they want to go back home and enjoy immunity because the ban against the consortium still stands. It makes any collective representation of our people's right or advocating for the people collectively
Okay. So, stop contradicting yourself, the traitor.
And we hope that the Cameroon government and the president of Cameroon and his regime should not put their ego over the life of Cameroonians.
Just pause it there, please. Just pause it there. 1. Ambazonian groups that are extremist are out of touch with what is happening on the ground. And you are the only one that is in touch with what is happening on the ground. Okay. Very interesting. Number 2 is that refugees are voicing their grievances that they want to go back to the territory. What caused the problem of refugees? What made Ambazonians to flee their communities? You've stated Cameroon government burning down 1,200 villages. Okay. The colonial deals signing decrees, forcing Ambazonians from their communities that if they don't leave within 48 hours, they'll be treated as terrorists. You've said that too. In all your articulations, and in all the articulations of Mr. Paul Biya and Mr. Diongote, the people who declared war on the Amazonian people, none of you have been able to tell the international community, the people of Cameroon or the Amazonian people, your plan to reconstruct 1,200 villages. You said these people want to come back. Come back to where? Come back to what? Capo Daniel, you're a refugee as well. If it's so safe, why haven't you gone back? Charity begins at home. If it is so safe, go back and show others that it's safe to go back. If the conditions on the ground, the war has come to an end, normalcy has taken place, you, Capo Daniel, go back to the ground. Don't pay people from DDR to go to refugee camps and make propaganda videos, just like Nambere, just like success in Congo, for the purposes to make little money from the Cameroon government. If conditions are right, you are not in charge of refugees. The United Nations is in charge of those refugees. When conditions are good enough, what makes condition to be good enough for the return of refugees? Number one, a political settlement, a full agreement and implementation of that political settlement backed by the international community. Has that taken place? Because you're running a scam with an NGO you created in Kenya using your new wife who's from Kenya. Because the only reason you got married to a new wife by dumping all the other ones, including the Ambazonian girl you got married to and betrayed her in 3 months. Because you know she will not settle for this nonsense. That's why you settled for a Kenyan. So you could use her for transaction, to scam her, to register an NGO in Kenya, so this fraudulent and corrupt money can be channeled to that NGO. Our people know what they are fighting for. They know what they want. They know what's good for them. They know the conditions that chase them out of their communities and out of their country. The Bulu barbarians are still building and expanding their B bases and B camps of terror. Propaganda has a very short lifespan. So too is the life and actions of traitors. Cameroon's elections will not take place in the Ambazonian territory. Cameroon's colonial elections will only take place in the territory of Cameroon. All of you, Mr. Diongute and Mr. Bia, can recruit as many other sellouts. They can bribe, they can corrupt as many to speak for them. Ambazonians are well equipped, they are well sophisticated to withstand this barrage of propaganda. It has a very short lifespan. So too will be traitors. Whatever any Ambazonian out there, whatever you say today, whatever policies, you use social media, which is a free space for everybody. Everyone can go out and make a proclamation of anything you want. Ambazonia has a leadership. Our forces are united. Our people are united. As we have defeated Cameroon, as we continue to fight and bring the occupation to an end, we've defeated traitors in the past. We've laid them bare in the past. This will not be any different. You will not be any different. We will lay you bare and undress you in the public. Propaganda is propaganda. Reality is reality. You call for unilateral cessation of hostilities. 6 of their Bulu terrorist forces have been killed in the state of Manu. That is called reality. Social media is social media. So while you can rant and speak the way you want, the sacrifices of the Ambazonian people will never be betrayed. The sacrifices of our children will never be betrayed. The sacrifices of our mothers and fathers will never be betrayed. What they have asked for is what they will get. A free homeland and dignity for our people. A government by the Ambazonian people, for the Ambazonian people. That is what they will get. Nothing else. There is no middle ground with barbarians. There is no middle ground with sellout. There is no middle ground with genocidaires. Ambazonia, free, independent state. That is what our people deserve. And that is what we will deliver for our people. Thank you very much. And thank you for listening.
Hail this land of glory. We the Ambazonians pledge our loyalty. Praise to our Savior who granted us the freedom. And legends to the heroes who fought along with Diablo. Glory to glory, we rise and never to fall. Here in a nation, flowing with earth and holy. Glory, glory, glory to the Father for making you a nation, a joy forevermore. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meeting our need. And your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meeting our need. And your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation.
Welcome to ACN.